showtime.
Jermaine Copeland, what a catch.
We expect to call this man's name a lot.
You can't cover me.
Oh, what a catch.
You know you can't cover me.
Not sure if this is new Jermaine Copeland choreography. There's Copeland. Jermaine Copeland's got it.
Let's get started.
They're the guys that the boys were referring to. Henry Burris, Dave Dickinson, close to 75% completion percentage. All gets going right after this.
Thank you, Dave. Tonight's game available in TSN HD. High definition for picture clarity. Visit tsn.ca/HD and call your digital cable or satellite provider. Well, we wish we could uncover BC Place Stadium today. It was a breathtaking West Coast day and rather warm inside as we get set for the first Western matchup for the BC Lions this year. Tom Higgins Stampeders coming off their most complete game of the season, that 44-18 thrashing of Saskatchewan, while the former Stampeder boss Wally Buono 4-0, but says his team's still sputtering and has to get to another level.
Calgary Stampeders turned the corner last week, but still way ahead on the road is the BC Lions. They can make up some ground tonight with a big win here in BC Place Stadium.
Duncan O'Mahony puts it on the tee. There's Ronnie Jenkins with Kenyon Rambo back to receive the opening kickoff. The 4-0 Lions, the 2-2 Stampeders. It's number 2, Ronnie Jenkins. Across the 35, Carl Kidd gets his kid gloves on Jenkins and brings him down after a 20-yard return. And Henry Burris leads out the Stampeder offense, a statement game a week ago. And last year, his best performances were against the Lions.
A lot of help he got from Joffrey Reynolds in that backfield position, and Nick Lewis and Jermaine Copeland involved early throughout that Saskatchewan game. Looks like they're starting to get back on the same page.
Starting lineup brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. Henry Burris faking to Reynolds, and he'll roll on the right side and overthrow Brett Ralph in the flat in front of that Lions bench as we set the BC defense.
Brent Johnson leads the way at the front 4. Brent Johnson with 6 sacks, one of the leaders of that front 7. Barron Simpson will line up at middle linebacker in the secondary, maybe the most improved area on that defense. Barron Miles, offseason acquisition. Mark Washington and Miles played together for a couple years in Montreal.
And you'll see a lot of Tony Tiller, number 24, the nickel back. On situations like this, 2nd and 10, Burris steps up and looks for Copeland, incomplete. Tight coverage from Ryan Phillips. And after 10 points on their opening 2 possessions a week ago, 2 and out for Henry Burris.
A lot of things that the Calgary Stampeders talked about that were reasons for their success last week versus Saskatchewan were their quick start and the fact that they got Henry Burris out rolling around and moving the pocket. Now, talking to the BC defense heading in this game, they believe as good a game as Joffrey Reynolds had running the ball, that Henry Burris is the key. They've got to keep him in the pocket, and they did on Series 1.
Aaron Lockett awaiting the punt from Burt Dales. Lockett returned a punt against the Stampeders last year. 105 yards for a touchdown. Great coverage there as he's brought down by Mark Calixta at the 20. A loss of 2 on the return after a 45-yard punt. And here is Dave Dickinson, over 70% in each of his first 4 starts this season.
Truly incredible. And you talk to Dave Dickinson about that completion percentage, and he says it's not something that he consciously goes into the game thinking about. What he likes to do is eliminate interceptions. That's his #1 focus and move the football team. He feels if you worry too much about completion percentage, you may become too conservative.
Bobby Singh back in at right guard after a 1-game suspension. And the long out, Ryan Thelwell has it skip on the new field turf here at BC Place Stadium. Incomplete.
Defensively for the Calgary Stampeders, maybe their best game versus Saskatchewan a week ago. Dynamic trio up front with Demetrius Maxey, Sheldon Napastuk, and Raheem Abdul. And then in the linebacking core, that's the heart and soul. Probably played their best game as a unit a week ago, and they're still trying to get it together in the secondary.
2nd and 10. McGee showed blitz, backs off. Dickinson to the far side. There's Stelwell with the catch. And a first down, one of only 2 100-yard games this season for that explosive Lion receiving corps.
Yeah, Ryan Thelwell continues to raise his game to the next level, game in and game out. And one of the reasons for that is he's just starting to see the football a lot more. This time, the read the defense provided for Dave Dickinson takes him to Thelwell on the outside. But he has been sure-handed through 2005.
13 on that hookup from Dickinson to Thelwell. First down at the 33. Here comes that Calgary blitz. Dickinson gets outside, dumps it off. Paris Jackson at the 45. Late flag. Sheldon Napastuk with the late hit, and Jackson's been shaken up. There also is another penalty marker. Calgary looked like they may have jumped offside.
Well, Scott Coe was coming off the edge, and I wasn't sure if he got there a little early, and then the second flag was on the tackle. Maybe one of Scott Coe's teammates pulled him off. Maybe it was an offensive player that pulled him off.
Looks like Jackson's okay.
Offside. Calgary number 56. That penalty is declined. Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Calgary 92. 15-yard penalty. Added from the point, ball dead. First down.
Napastuk was basically a piling on penalty. George White had Paris Jackson tackled right in the middle of your screen there, and here comes Napastuk right on top of the pile, basically piling on. Unnecessary roughness. Lions will take that and decline the offside.
So a 22-yard gain after the penalty, and it puts the ball into Calgary territory at the Stamp 53. Fake to Warren, and now the ball dumped, knocked down. Scott Coe, who trains with Dickinson in the offseason, and Dave talked a lot about Scott Coe yesterday and about his blitzing ability, and he gets his mitt on the football.
Well, he's got a couple of sacks on the season so far this year, and this kind of play for Dave Dickinson may be difficult to run against this football team because Scott Coe on one side, Brian Clark in the middle, George White on the other are very athletic linebackers. They can cut that kind of play off.
They put a lot of heat on Dickinson last year, a lot of movement on the line, and this should be procedure against BC.
Scott Coe really emerged last year and established himself as a premier linebacker in the CFL with 71 tackles, 4 quarterback sacks, 2 interceptions, and took 1 back to the house. And that was 3rd on the Stampeder list in the tackle department. He's having a little bit of fun.
This is the sprinkler, apparently.
Yeah.
Every week, different hair color. I don't know if we can keep up with him. Colorful, to say the least.
Well, he wants us to reshoot that so that he can get a different dance in there every time.
Does he think he is Jermaine Copeland? 2nd and 15. Coe on the blitz again. Dickinson hit late as the ball is dropped. Oh, Tony Simmons. And Dave Dickinson couldn't have thrown that much better.
When I look at Tony Simmons, I have flashbacks to a pretty good receiver that played with the Calgary Stampeders years ago, Alan Pitts. To me, he looks like him. He smiles like him. He's tall and lanky with him. And I asked Wally Buono about that. He said, you know, I can see some of the similarities. He said, but I'll tell you one thing that Tony Simmons has a lot more of than Alan Pitts did, and that's speed. And he used that speed to get in behind Anthony Marlborough. Just didn't come up with the catch.
Alan Pitts catches that.
Yeah. But he might not be behind him.
No. Kenyon Rambo. Little spinorama move there to get past Otis Floyd. Brought down at the 18. 49-yard punt by Duncan O'Malley. Stamps start their 2nd possession of the game at their 19-yard line after a 2-and-out. Henry Burris, 3 starts against the Lions last year, all 3 over 350. And here is Joffrey Reynolds. His first carry of the game is a big one all the way across the 40-yard line for the man who came in tied for second in rushing, 50 yards back of the leader, Corey Holmes, but with a game in hand.
394 yards rushing for Joffrey Reynolds, and kind of forgotten a couple of weeks ago, but still doing his thing, up at 6.9 yards per carry. And I thought he was the key to success versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders with over 150 yards rushing.
Stampeders #1 rushing the football. They'll give it back to Reynolds, this time stacked up after a short gain. But #1 rushing against a Lions defense that's been vulnerable against the run.
Well, yeah, and that's the concern. And when I was talking to the BC defense this week and asking them about their major concerns, did you take a look at that graphic? Last for the Lions against the run, first for Calgary's offense. They said we're more concerned with stopping Henry Burris from moving in the pocket and in the passing game than Joffrey Reynolds.
3 that time for Reynolds, 2nd and 7. Burris rolling right, gets rid of it downfield, and Juhas has the catch at the 40-yard line.
That is exactly what the defense was talking about for the Lions, that their bigger concern, and it's a double-edged sword because of the abilities of Joffrey Reynolds, but maybe their bigger concern is if Henry Burris can get outside of containment. There's containment. See, containment got locked down in. And now he's outside with a nice throwing lane, goes down the sideline for a big completion.
How about the accuracy of that throw from Smiling Hank? It's a first down, a 26-yard gain, and now he'll roll right. Johnson in pursuit, and that ball behind the intended receiver, incomplete.
But you see the difference between Brent Johnson in containment there and what happened on the previous play. On the previous play, Burris got outside the pocket and had a nice throwing lane to go down the sideline. That time, Brent Johnson, the leader of that front seven, slid across the line of scrimmage and was always sort of in the face, just bothering Henry Burris as he threw, and he couldn't put as much accuracy on the throw.
2nd and 10 at the Lions' 40-yard line. 4 receivers to the left. Again, Burris steps up, looking deep, looking for Copeland. Touchdown! Jermaine Copeland on the marquee to start the night, into the end zone for the touchdown.
Copeland two-step. Lions playing the zone defense. Jermaine Copeland is going to go down the seam. You know it's zone. Got 4 or 5-man pressure. You play zone behind it. Here comes a crosser. Now Baron Miles from the middle. He's trying to get back across the field. And that's not even Sam Young's man. His guy was in end zone, was on the outside. Copeland's in the end zone, splitting the seams.
DeAngelis splits the uprights. 40 yards. Henry Burris to Jermaine Copeland. Stampeders on top. Henry Burris told us yesterday, I've got to find a way to get Copeland going early. I almost feel bad that we haven't gone to him that much in the first 4 games.
Yeah, and there's a couple of ways that you don't want to get caught locking into one receiver. If the defense doesn't dictate to throw there, then you can get in trouble. But some of the plays that they'll have tonight versus the Lions will make Jermaine Copeland the primary target.
Copeland's not done badly at the outset. At least 5 catches each game. Here's Aaron Lockett. And a nifty swivel to the 35. 22 on the return for Lockett.
Let's go back to some of the fundamentals of playing zone defense. You see, this is Jermaine Copeland with Nick Lewis as they hit the line of scrimmage. Now Ryan Phillips is the halfback. He's playing zones, got a jam right here. He's got to slow the momentum of the receiver down the seam. He's got a deep man in Sam Young, but Sam Young can't get there because there was no contact made on Jermaine Copeland by Ryan Phillips. Zone defense works together when the underneath zone players are aggressive with the receivers. If you let them run free, the deep guys have no chance.
5 plays, 91 yards. And a drive that took 3 minutes. to hit the Lions end zone. We've got an injured player on the field. Looks like Kelly Lockbaum has been shaken up. Oh, check that. Trey Young. You're talking about zone defense, and Dave Dickinson expects to see a lot of it tonight. He says, I got to find the holes in that Calgary zone. He goes to Thelwell outside. Second catch for the sleek wideout, number 3.
Well, it's interesting, Chris, because if you're the Calgary defense right now and you're looking, okay, how do we beat Dave Dickinson? How do we beat a guy who's completing 75% of his passes and is 4-0 on the season? Well, one way, you think, okay, do we blitz him? If we send a lot of pressure, maybe we get to him before he throws the ball. But then you have to deal with one-on-ones with Ryan Thelwell, G-Roy Simon.
8 for Thelwell, 2nd and 2. And Warren will pound it for a first down to the 47.
Then the other side of the coin is you play more zone defense and rush 4 or 5 guys. And that's basically not blitz, but stunts. Stunts adding one more, so it's 5 O-linemen against 5 D-linemen. And then when you take a look at Dave Dickinson's career numbers, you think he will be patient. He didn't put numbers up like that if he wasn't patient with the football. So very difficult to defend Dave Dickinson when he makes the decisions the way he does.
First down, 47. And he looks to the left side, and he has Paris Jackson, but he can't hang on. Jackson coming off a personal best game last week with 6 catches and a touchdown in Hamilton.
Well, Paris Jackson, one of the reasons, along with Tony Simmons, that Chris Brazel was able to be released by the BC Lions, headed over to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and see a lot of good things from Paris Jackson as his career continues to unfold. He's only been in the CFL a few years and has had limited reps. He'll see the ball a ton more this season and will only get better.
2nd and 10. And a little sidearm to Warren across midfield. And Antonio Warren into Calgary territory at the 45. As Dickinson gave us a different arm angle on that toss.
You know, when a lot of people will talk about the Canadian Football League at the water cooler in their office, they'll talk about the number 1, 2, 3 running backs in the league. Troy Davis' names probably comes up. Charles Roberts' name probably comes up. And one name that almost never comes up is Antonio Warren's name. And Warren is a guy that it should come up a lot more.
Well, he's a double threat, 6 catches last week. Tied for 6th in rushing. A ball over the middle. Off the outstretched hand, but behind Jason Claremont. And it falls incomplete.
You know, here's a guy in Antonio Warren that in 2004 rushed for over 1,000 yards, added 5 touchdowns. But maybe more importantly, he was 6th in the league in all-purpose yards. So he's asked to do so many things for the BC Lions. He's a return guy, punt returns, kickoff returns, runs the ball out of the backfield, had over 1,000 yards doing that. And maybe his best attribute is how he catches the ball out of the backfield.
2nd and 10. And underneath it goes G-Roy Simon, first catch on the night. Number 24 on the year for the man who is 2nd in pass receiving yards in the CFL.
This is a real chess game for the BC Lions and their offense, because they want to start the chess game by just moving very conservatively. Quick crossing routes. You see the linebackers in there. They're flying up there to make a tackle. Now, they don't hold G-Roy Simon short. They're going to make it close. They're going to measure. The whole idea in this chess game for the BC Lions on offense is to set up the Calgary defense for that big play over the top. You see G-Roy just got it by the length of the ball. Underneath, crossing routes, underneath, crossing, dump the ball, linebackers start to creep up forward. That's when you go up over top.
So it is a first down on the catch by Simon, who had 140 yards in receiving the last home game here in Vancouver against Toronto. Play action and the rush on, and now Warren catches the screen, and Antonio Warren close to another first down.
And that's the little passing game and the little catch out of the backfield that Warren makes look easy and is not a real easy catch to make. In fact, quite difficult to make because you're looking back over your shoulder and that dump pass is going to drop in there. He does that a ton. I can't remember the last time I saw Antonio Warren drop a pass.
2nd and 1, and Dickinson with flags down in behind left guard Kelly Bates. Should have the first down pending the penalty marker. By the way, Dave Dickinson comes into the game 10th in rushing in the Canadian Football League. I don't know if
Calgary 91. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Demetrius Maxey offside, so it is a automatic first down. But I don't know if the Lions really want Dave Dickinson to be a top 10 rusher this year.
No, no, that's not the plan. They'd like to see Antonio Warren up there as in the top 5 rushing categories, but no, they don't want Dave Dickinson. And when Dave's running, he's running for his life.
Now Casey Printers, if he was playing, maybe a top 10. Turn a blue sky. Dickinson over the middle. Simon separated from the football. And that was Jermaine Chapman.
Yeah, Chapman saves a touchdown because the chess game I talked about was working to perfection for the BC Lions. They went underneath, they went underneath, they went underneath. This time, G. Simon is not going to go underneath. He's going to go up top. The linebackers have come in. Scott Coe's on a blitz. They jump. You see Brian Clark jump the short crosser route there to Paris Jackson. That left the throwing lane open, and Jermaine Chapman saves a touchdown.
Tom Higgins telling us yesterday a typical DB attitude, has the swagger, loves the ball thrown in his direction. Big play, and now 2nd and 10. Dickinson taking a long look, in some trouble, and is down behind the line of scrimmage, just tripped up. And was it Raheem Abdullah that finally took the legs from underneath Dickinson?
All week here in Vancouver, there's been a ton of criticism directed towards the offensive line of the BC Lions and how Dave Dickinson's been hit too much. We talked about him running too much, something he's not accustomed to doing. That is a sack created by the coverage and the defensive backs of the Calgary Stampeders. Dave Dickinson had more than enough time created by his offensive line to make something happen, but no one was open.
So Duncan O'Mahony comes on, looking at a 34-yarder. O'Mahony 4 for 4 a week ago in Hamilton. And he puts the Lions on the board with just under 3.5 to go, first quarter. Calgary leads 7-3. Blake Price is patrolling the Stampeder sidelines.
Well, some early success for Henry Burris in this game, guys, but don't forget, he's had success here before. He wants a W. While wearing a Rider uniform last year in 2 regular season games and 1 playoff game, he tossed for over 350 yards each time out, accumulating 9 touchdowns along the way. Tossing the preseason last year with Calgary this season, and that's 4 straight losses for Henry Burris, a trend he hopes to reverse. On the Lions sideline, here's Farhan Lalji.
Thanks, Blake. We all know about the Calgary coaching connection here in Vancouver, but there is also one coach that went the other way. Steve Barotto was the Lions head coach in 2000 when they won the Grey Cup, and he was the offensive coordinator here the last couple of seasons. But as the season progressed last year, it became clear the offensive coaches here weren't necessarily on the same page. And late in the year, Jacques Chabdelaine played a bigger role in the offensive play calling. He's now the Lions offensive coordinator. Barotto holds that title in Calgary. He downplayed his return home here to Vancouver, but Henry Burris said, don't kid yourself. He wants this one bad. He even got a haircut for this game, guys.
Yes, there's a lot of those stories on either side. There's a Ronnie Jenkins return that's going to be brought back. Flag on the field behind the play after a 25-yard Jenkins return.
Well, I remember last year with Steve Barotto and how it was such an interesting and quiet departure between Steve Barotto and Wally Buono, and
Illegal block.
if there were problems with the
Calgary
two,
33.
it was the best kept secret in Vancouver. No question that Jacques Chabdelaine was becoming more involved as the season went on, and you know, he's getting to that point in his coaching career that he's ready to take on more responsibilities. Steve Barotto still has a lot to offer this game. We saw great evidence of that last week when Calgary beat up on the Saskatchewan Roughriders, largely due to the call playing of Steve Barotto.
Trey Young called for an illegal block. That brings it back to the 17. They'll go to work with Reynolds, and a burst right up the middle. Sidestep Baron Miles, and caught from behind. But Joffrey Reynolds continues to chew up the yardage and make a name for himself as one of the premier backs in this league.
Great block at the point of attack to get Joffrey Reynolds down the field. He gets a seam right here. Now, once he gets into that second level, watch as he cuts back through the seam. Now he's gone. Jeff Pilon with a nice block there. Great move on Baron Miles. And Mark Washington showed some speed to run him down. And that's a touchdown. That's a great chop, cut back move on Baron Miles.
43 yards on that carry, and now Burris, the option toss. Ronnie Jenkins, he'll have another first down as they operate the pony offense with both Reynolds and Jenkins.
First down, Stampeders.
Ronnie Jenkins is the guy that they're going to use to get that speed to the outside and try and stretch the defensive line and widen them. Where they line up, they will start to widen if Jenkins becomes more of a problem to the outside and around the edge. When they widen, the defense's problem is Joffrey Reynolds between the tackles.
You know, they say they want to give Jenkins the ball 7 to 10 times a game. He'd only had 7 touches in the first 3, but here he is on back-to-back carries and tripped up as he gets to the 30. 8 more after an initial carry of 12 for Ronnie Jenkins. And again, this is the highest powered running attack in the league.
Saskatchewan, a great team heading into last week on defense versus the run, and we thought this was strength against strength. Calgary with Joffrey Reynolds and Saskatchewan with their run defense, and Joffrey Reynolds won round 1 handily.
2nd and 3, left side, and Jenkins another first down as this ground game has not been stopped by the Lions.
Again, it's Jenkins at the perimeter. Jenkins with his speed attacking the perimeter, getting him outside. And the way now that BC will have to compensate to this is to have one of their defensive ends, Brent Johnson, Chris Wilson. Dave Ritchie's going to have to widen those ends. When he widens them, he opens up lanes in the middle.
He said yesterday, I don't think they can beat us with the run. But here we are in the final minute of the opening quarter. Reynolds 68 yards, 31 for Jenkins. 1st and 10. Toss back. Trouble. Burris gets it away to the corner. Has a completion. Kenyon Rambo at the 3. And so first it's the ground game, and then a little gadget play.
The progression of the series of plays from Tom Higgins. Joffrey Reynolds into the line, having all that success, draws the coverage. Otis Floyd had a chance. Henry Burris fought him off. What a great play to keep that defense guessing.
And the architect of the offense has to like this. 1st and goal from the 3. Dybert in as well. It'll be Reynolds to the goal line. Touchdown.
Wow.
And that's as impressive a march as we've seen this year.
Well, in football, it's the attack by ground or air. They didn't need any air support. The Calgary Stampeders rolled along the ground on that one. Joffrey Reynolds, Ronnie Jenkins. This is the running back's drive.
6 plays, 93 yards. The big romp by Reynolds. And then Jenkins took over before Reynolds capped it. 14-3 Stamps. Well, he kick-started the drive with a 43-yard romp up the middle. Already 2 100-yard games on the season. In 9 games, Joffrey Reynolds in the CFL has 891 yards before tonight. And you project that on an 18-game season, 1,782 yards. And it looks like he is going to up his average tonight. Aaron Lockett from the 6 on what should be the final play of the opening quarter. We do have a flag down as Lockett is caught as he turned the corner. Jermaine Chapman tracked him down. And again, a penalty marker on the play with no time left on the clock in what has been a stunning first quarter for BC fans.
And that last return by Aaron Lockett, Jason Claremont caught Ronnie Jenkins in the ear hole.
BC number 4.
That wasn't the penalty. But so far, Jason Claremont on that special team has been one of the few to be able to tackle Ronnie Jenkins in this game.
Two of the least penalized teams so far in the CFL this season. And let's take a look at Claremont.
When you're setting up the wall return,
whoa,
you get great angles, and that's a pretty big hit from Jason Claremont as he comes around the corner. Fair hit because he's in front of Ronnie Jenkins. And that's as hard as Ronnie Jenkins has been hit, even though he's carried the ball a bunch already in this game.
Jason Claremont lowering the boom at 6'2", 227. However, with the penalty, backed up to the 15. Final play of the opening quarter. And Dickinson himself punished. Mix up. That's the end of the quarter. Tough one for BC. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Fairly even when you look at the first downs. 8 for Calgary, 6 for the BC Lions. But for Calgary, the 8 first downs, a lot of them in the BC Lions end of the field, which is why they have the lead right now, 14-3.
Net yards 184 for Calgary in the first 15 minutes of football. And now Dave Dickinson looks at 2nd and 8. And look at the playoff. So many people wondered last week whether Tom Higgins' team just caught Saskatchewan a little off guard, or whether this was the sign of all those expectations in Calgary at the start of the season.
I'm not sure. I don't think they caught him off guard last week. The Calgary Stampeders were improving every game out, and they had beat Winnipeg. So they were a team that was scratching the surface. They had the blowout game against a good team, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a week ago, and are now carrying that momentum against the best team in the West so far.
This has the look of a very impressive football team at the moment. No flag. Apparently, referee overruling, and so no penalty. 2nd and 8. Warren gets the first down. Scott Cove brings down Antonio Warren, who's been Dave Dickinson's favorite so far tonight.
Especially on first down, you see a lot of Antonio Warren as he cuts underneath the linebacking core and then have the job to try and make one of those guys miss, and that's never easy, which is why Antonio Warren's underneath catches are going to be limited to 5-6 yards a crack.
Fresh set of downs for BC. Dickinson quickly, Claremont at the 35, and that's a gain of about 6 for the top Canadian. I guess what's surprising, a 4-0 BC Lion team that really has not put up some great stats.
Well, they keep saying they haven't played that consistent game, and when you look at it, BC's offense, 9.1 yards, first in the passing game against the team that struggled against it. So you'd think the stats may be there.
One of the categories they do lead in, but they're only top 3 offensively in 13 of 35 categories. Here's a catch made by Chiroy Simon. Looked like the Lions receiver was offside, and a marker was thrown. But do you think 4-0 Dave Dickinson and this Lions team would be at the top of almost all the offensive categories? And really, it's just that 1 yards passing completion average that is where Dickinson's on top.
Well, and
BC number 81.
What really matters,
2nd down,
and the only numbers that really matter are the ones that are right underneath the W and right underneath the L, and then wins and losses. So the stats are interesting to watch, and I think that's why the coaching staff for the Lions have been talking to us during the week about the fact they're not playing as consistent as they should be, but we're finding ways to win. Sometimes when teams struggle and can still find ways to win, that's when you know you got a good football team.
G-Roy Simon was offside, so it's 2nd and 8. Dickinson just got it away. Looks for Simon, and the ball is incomplete, but the flag is thrown. Simon was interfered with, and the Lions get the call.
Jermaine Chapman, the corner for the Calgary Stampeders, is in pretty good position, but he's going to put his right arm across the arms of Simon before the ball arrives right there. It's pretty close. The timing is very close, but that was regular speed, folks, and that arm was in there a split second early.
Calgary 41. First down.
You can't strip the receiver's arms that quickly before the ball arrives. You can do it as the ball arrives, but not before.
Turns out to be a 37-yard penalty against Chapman. How about Joey Bosse with the helmet to the chops of Simon at the end of that play? But G-Roy bounced up, and now the Lions threaten at the Calgary 42. Underneath Claremont. Scott Cole on the scene along with Chapman. And with an update, here's Dave Randorf.
Thanks, Chris. In Regina, Ottawa, and the Riders just one touchdown in this game. Here it is. Happened moments ago in the third quarter. Kerry Joseph, 20 yards in. 11 straight points by the Renegades. 11-9 in the third.
Well, now they have Nate Davis back tonight, David Benefield, but you knew that was not going to be a gimme for the home side of Taylor Field. Renegades continue to be tough in the early going. 2nd and short underneath. Warren once again tracked down by Coe, but should have the first down.
You know, coaches, you hear it year in, year out. You hear it at every press conference. You hear it when they're talking at seminars. The one word they always use is consistency. It's not that they love that players have that great ability to make plays and turn a quick throw into a huge 100-yard touchdown. Everybody loves that, obviously, but coaches will always say consistency. I don't know that there is a more consistent running back than Antonio Warren. I mean, he needed to get about 8 yards. He gets 8.5. When Wally Buono calls Antonio Warren's number, he knows what he's going to get. He knows 100% what he's going to get from Antonio Warren. He won't get fumbles, he won't get missed assignments, and he'll just go and produce what he needs to produce.
And although we have not seen it from Reynolds yet, the good backs in the league are the guys that can get you yards on the ground, but as receivers. Charles Roberts, saw John Avery catching a bunch last night. And Antonio Warren ran into John Grace that time, limiting the progress to a pair.
And the way the BC Lions run their offense, and they have a lot of different formations. They go with that bunch formation at times with receivers all close to the line of scrimmage. A lot of passing game with 5 receivers in there. Jacques Chapdelaine wants to widen the field, stretch the field with receivers, get them down, and try and get the G-Roy Simons of his team open. If that kind of offense is being run, then Antonio Warren's job is to protect quarterback Dave Dickinson. And he's pretty much perfect in that respect as well.
They had an 11 play drive for a field goal in the first quarter. And now the 9th play of this drive at the Calgary 30, 2nd and 8. Dickinson underneath again. Here's Tony Simmons, the speedster. And he is tossed out by Anthony Malbrough. But another first down, Lions.
Tony Simmons and Antonio Warren do like a crossing route underneath, and when the pocket starts to collapse, that's when Dave Dickinson has to go to one of those underneath receivers. But here's a guy, a little different than Warren, but here's a guy that could break it away and find that end zone in one little dump pass.
Yes, that was the play Wally Buono talked about yesterday, where we really might see the Tony Simmons speed. Nice fake to Warren, and now he looks and has to take off and takes more punishment. And Dave Dickinson's taken a bunch of that this year. This hit from Raheem Abdullah.
You know, and Dave, what I think a lot of people have loved about Dave Dickinson throughout his career is, man, pound for pound, this man is as tough as they come in the Canadian Football League in that position, because he could have easily hook slid right here. He could have gone down, legs first. He cut inside of Lyle Green rather than go around and try and bubble to lose yards. Got positive yards and took a hit.
Brian Clark got a piece of him too, second in a pair, and Warren right side, touchdown! Anthony Warren, as the Lions answer back with an impressive touchdown march. Well, that was an Antonio Warren drive, receiving, and then he finishes up with the 12-yard run.
Well, a couple of catches out of the backfield that he got just enough to move the change. Nice cut right there to get inside of John Grace. And in the end zone, relatively untouched. Antonio Warren does it all and gets very little credit.
O'Mani adds the extra point. Got the makings of a real good football game. It's now a 4-point Calgary lead after the 4th touchdown of the season for Antonio Warren.
Antonio Warren gets some help from one, his fullback, and two, a backside pulling guard in Sherko Rizzoli. We'll show you those blocks in a second. Opened up a real nice hole for Antonio Warren.
The 11-play drive, 95 yards, just under 6 minutes off the clock here early in the second quarter. O'Mani with the kickoff, and Jenkins has it across the 40. Ronnie Jenkins, who in 2001 led the NFL in kickoff returns, brings it out near the 50.
A lot of that drive was all Antonio Warren. He did a lot of the work, and then when he got down to the goal line, he got help from fullback right here in your screen. Lyle Green, who's going to get a good block down, and then Rizzoli coming out on the kickout. Watch how this works for Antonio Warren. We'll freeze it one more time for you. Lyle Green locks there and turns in right there. He's turned in his man. There's the block to the outside. Look at the running lane for Antonio Warren.
Rizzoli taking John Grace out of the play, getting Warren into the end zone. So Burris now to the former Lion Gerald Harris, and he is swarmed after a short gain. Sam Young in coverage. Gerald Harris, 3 years in BC, but just 8 games. And when he was released by the Lions, Steve Barato was happy to bring him to Calgary.
Well, yeah, and I think Tom Higgins' words yesterday to us were he is a keeper. He's a great player.
3 catches, 84 yards, including a 56-yarder last week. 2nd and 5. Burris looks left side. There's Nick Lewis shaking a tackle and getting extra yardage. So Lewis with his first catch.
You know, you really like receivers when you get the Gerald Harris, and a guy like that comes in. He can learn a little bit from Nick Lewis, who was there last year, had the great season he had. And then you got Gerald Harris, who's been around the league for years. That helps him in the experience department. And then he just gets on the same page with their offense and with their terminology. And now you got a pretty good core.
1st and 10 back in Lions territory. Joffrey Reynolds. And Reynolds, tough to bring down as he's stopped at the 35. Gang tackled for 4. Well, we talked to Henry Burris about the first time he's gone head-to-head with his old teammate, Dave Dickinson, and he had some complimentary words, we think, for Dave.
Dave's not, he's not Fabio. He's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a guy. He's Dave. I mean, you see him on the street sometimes, you would never even think he was a football player. He's a guy who shows up to handle business. He's a very smart, brainy guy. He knows what he's supposed to do within the scheme of things, and that's what you're going to get from him. I mean, he's the same cool, calm, collective type guy as a quarterback, and he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he gets the job done.
I'm not sure Dave's going to take that all in as complimentary, but I think it was meant to be. Nice play by Sam Young there as he cut down Kenyon Rambo and stalls Henry Burris's latest drive.
Well, that was back when the Calgary Stampeders were the quarterback factory, and I remember when Dave Dickinson was playing with Jeff Garcia, thinking that it was the cowboy and the surgeon. Cowboy being Garcia and the surgeon being Dickinson, and really when he walks up to you in plain clothes, it looks like he is maybe a surgeon.
Can Sandro DeAngelis stay perfect? 11 for 11. No! First miss of the year for DeAngelis, and Lockett will bring it out. And he'll step out near the 20. Well, it was going to come sooner or later. And DeAngelis misses from 46. Well, don't forget about the Wendy's Kick for $1 Million contest. One lucky fan will attempt to kick a field goal to win $1 million and other great prizes live during TSN's halftime show in October. You can still log on to enter at tsn.ca/Wendy's. And we've had a pretty healthy entry list of potential Sandro DeAngelises.
Even though he just missed, you won't be kicking against him if you win the contest.
He was 4 for 4 outside the 40, including the 56-yarder last week, until that miss. And there's a drop by Geroy Simon that you don't see often. Well, the Stamps knew that the streak was going to end, and Tom Higgins went over to his kicker afterwards, and with the smiles and whatnot, it's almost like maybe a little pressure's off.
Well, yeah, you know, it can start to build, and everyone's talking about the streak and how long can he do it. And, you know, every time Tom Higgins started to talk about it, he said, well, when he misses, and he will miss. And that's about as matter of fact as you can be.
2nd and 10. Dickinson looked one way, has to run the other. And throws incomplete. Jackson caught it, didn't get a foot down, and the official on the far side's hearing it from the Lions bench.
You know, this deserves another look, and I'll tell you why. Because the rule is if the receiver is pushed out of bounds, then where he would have come in is where the ball should be marked.
And he did drag that right foot, it looked like.
Looked like it was very close.
Or is the left foot out?
I want to see where the foot hits right there. Okay, now the foot is out right there. But was he pushed prior to that foot hitting the white stripe?
I think on further review, good call by Brent Butchko.
Yeah, I agree.
Rambo, 42-yard line. Little juke. Now can he get outside? Cuts back and pays the price at the 45. 46-yard punt by Duncan O'Mahony. 3 on the return. Brent Johnson and the BC Lions 4-0. The first 4-0 start on the West Coast since 1987. They've won 9 straight at home, but they're in a game tonight against the Stampeders, who start first down at their 45-yard line. Joffrey Reynolds through the first tackle, but then wrapped up. Tyrone Williams, the best run stopper on that defensive line, wrapping. And Reynolds gets into the grill of Otis Floyd. And a reminder that we'll be back on the air with Wendy CFL Live from Rogers Center, where the Blue Bombers and the Argos both coming off wins against the Montreal Alouettes, and the Argos with a short week as they take on the improving Blue Bombers.
Well, congratulations to the Argonauts. Now they got to regroup in a hurry.
2nd and 11 after the loss of 1, and Gerald Harris couldn't come up with it. Thought he was interfered with by Dante Marsh. No flag.
No way. That's just great coverage. Dante Marsh came out of his break. Perfect time. He came downhill on the play and knocked it out of there on Gerald Harris. And this is an experiment that took a little time, and it took a little patience from the BC Lion coaching staff. And that is Sam Young and Dante Marsh. They came in last year, 2 rookie corners, and early on were getting torched. And Wally Buono took a lot of criticism about the corners. He stuck with them. And boy, they've elevated their game.
Punting situation. Dales awaiting the Randy Chevrier snap. Good kick. That'll back Lockett up. The inside is 15. But Lockett, big crease. Dales slows him up. The punter with a hit that may have saved a lot of yards. Just over 3.5 minutes to go. First half at BC Place Stadium. Here's Warren on the sweep. And brought down from behind by the nose tackle Sheldon Napastic at the 49. And a pickup of 7 for a busy Antonio Warren.
Well, the big story coming in with the BC Lions into training camp and into this season was going to be the competition for the starting quarterback position between last year's most valuable player, Casey Printers, and last year's starter to begin the year, Dave Dickinson. Never really began because of an injury to Printers.
2nd and 3. Warren with a hole. Joey Bosa can't stop him. Antonio Warren down the sidelines. Caught by Chapman at the 10. Oh, both running backs putting on a show tonight.
And it doesn't matter who's behind the center. If Antonio Warren is running like that, the Lions are going to move the football a bunch.
A 50-yard rampage for Warren. Well, lots for the boys to chew on in this first half. Join Dave, Chris, Matt, and Jock coming up at halftime. 14-10. Stampeders lead, a precarious one right now after the 50-yard run by Warren. Three receivers left, but Dickinson's going right to the end zone. Touchdown, G. Simon.
You get down in the goal line area as a quarterback, you got to believe it's going to be 90% one-on-one, man-to-man. And why not go to G. Simon? Dave Dickinson locks in early, his eyes on 81 that entire play, and as soon as G. Simon broke off of Ben Kelly, the ball arrived.
4th touchdown catch of the year for the man who hauled in 14 last season. O'Mahony caps it with the extra point, and the Lions, who fell behind, are now hitting on all cylinders.
And the Calgary Stampeders aren't too far off. Let's go back to that Antonio Warren run to set up the touchdown, because the Stampeders' John Grace right here is not too far off. He's got to fill this hole where Antonio Warren is going to run and gets a little bit too wide. As he comes up the field, look how wide. He gets a bit too far this way. If he sits in here, there's no play. Okay, so he's a step outside and too wide. And here comes Antonio Warren, stiff arm, and Joey Bosa. He picks up that on his own. That sets up the touchdown. Just a bit off on defense, and then look at the coverage right here to the right of your screen. Ben Kelly one-on-one on G. Simon. G. Simon turns you out. Ben Kelly right there in his hip pocket's got his right arm all over the arms of Simon. He still comes up with the catch. The Calgary Stampeders aren't far off, but far enough so far that they just gave up a touchdown.
But there's got to be a little concern for that run defense that surrendered 160 plus against Josh Roddick. Charles Roberts had 108. They did a great job last week on Kenton Keith and Corey Holmes, but Antonio Warren, a big first half. Rambo to the 39. Let's check back in with Dave Randorf.
Well, check out this touchdown in Regina. Little shovel pass attempt by Nealon Green, picked off by Anthony Collier, the big boy along the defensive line, 6'3", 245, runs out of gas, flips it in the air to Kyrie Zafair. They take it in. 18-9 Renegades on the road.
And of course, Collier had that big game here a few weeks ago. 5 sacks, tying a CFL record.
Collier turning into running back there, it sounds like.
The Gades are for real. Burris has a completion, and Nick Lewis shakes another tackle. Little high hurdle by Nick Lewis, who they tell us has that linebacker mentality on game day.
Yeah, and you know, when I watch Nick Lewis, I see so much more than just a real good receiver. There's a lot of real good receivers. In fact, you're not at this level unless you're real good. When I see Nick Lewis, I see a versatile athlete. He blocked a punt in a Winnipeg game that was really the difference for Calgary in that one. And watch how he uses his versatility, all his moves out of the backfield. strong there with legs on the ground. Then he comes up here athletically, a little hurdle there, big yardage.
Right over top of Baron Miles, 29 yards. And a tight coverage, but a catch is made. Tony Tiller bringing down the Jermaine Copeland, the man who caught the pass.
That's what I love about what we're seeing in this game here tonight, is that this is good football. This is good football on both sides. It's receivers are come up with catches, but they're catches in coverage. Guys are having to make people miss by doing the high hurdle and being strong on the tackle. There's a lot of good football being played in this first half. That's why it's close.
And now 2nd and 3. Just inside the 35. They fake to Reynolds. The option. Burris held on and will pay the price. The Minister of Defense, Baron Simpson, with the key stop on Henry Burris.
They work in tandem. Baron Simpson needs one thing to happen for him to make this play, and that's for Frank Ferreira to get outside and make sure he gets containment on the play. Henry Burris is going to try and draw the coverage. See, he gets contained. Actually, in this case, in this particular defense, it was Carl Kidd. Carl Kidd shot to the outside. He gets contained. That allows Simpson to make the play.
Okay, he missed one. We knew he would, but let's see how DeAngelis bounces back. Puts it up. No doubt. No doubt. Dead center. And the rookie is now 12 of 13 in his CFL career. So a tie football game with 1:17 remaining.
Tom Higgins has to have had questions about Sandro DeAngelis, and a couple of them made answer tonight. One, he knew he was going to miss. He talked to us early in the preseason about, you know, I'd like him to see some adversity early on, maybe go on in the preseason, maybe go on a 3-kick missing streak and see how he handles that mentally. Well, now he's handled an important game and a miss, come back and made the next one, so he knows he can bounce back. Get some questions answered.
43-yarder, 5th kick over 40. Dickinson throwing in the flat. There's Thelwell off his shoe tops with the catch. And again, Dickinson in the 2-minute offense.
On that last play, G. Simon was the backside of the play, and he grabbed his left hamstring as he went across the field.
You know, he spent some time with Bill Rochelle, the veteran Lions trainer, after the touchdown catch as well. So we'll keep monitoring that. 2nd down and 3. Warren, and another big hole up the middle across the 50 for Antonio Warren.
Well, this has got to be a concern, and you know, both teams scout this and they look for things like this, just subtle little movement from a receiver. Here, that was the backside of that last play, and watch, you can see he's not running fluently, and then with the left hand, he reaches down to that left hamstring. And everybody will have noticed that, including the Calgary Stampeders, and wondering if you can play a little more physical. As defensive backs, we'd watch for things like that. If a receiver grabbed his hamstring, we say, okay, hey, let's test him. Get up in his face, jam him, get in his grill, see if he can push off that hamstring and get down the field.
Antonio Warren now up to 84 yards on the ground. First down without Simon underneath. Warren again. Across midfield before he was brought down.
Well, Dave Dickinson is executing the game plan right now, but he's got to turn it up a little bit. He's got to look to some intermediate pass routes in this series, because the time is the problem now going into the half.
Clock running. 48 seconds to go. 2nd and 4. Again, the long out to Thelwell. And quickly over is Ben Kelly. And Thelwell with the catch should have the first down. His progress taking him to the 47 of Calgary.
That's another one that can be setting up a deep play to Ryan Thelwell down the sideline. Ben Kelly has been in the deep third or the deep outside zone on all of those throws to Thelwell, and he keeps creeping closer and closer, trying to make a play on that quick out. And the way to beat him is the out and up.
35 seconds to go. Dickinson has a completion. Brent Anderson with his first catch of the night. Scott Coe takes down the Port Coquitlam fireman.
Interesting relationship for Brett Anderson, who gets the chance to continue to play football and live out his dream and still move on in his other career in the fire department here in the Lower Mainland, give him the opportunity to do that.
First catch of the year for Anderson, the 7th different receiver for Dave Dickinson. Second and a long yard. And Paris Jackson, the catch, slips the first contact, has a first down at the 33-yard line. Malbrough and Kelly on the stop. And now others have to step up without G. Roy Simon.
G. Roy Simon's out. We'll see a lot more of Brett Anderson. We'll see a lot more of Paris Jackson.
But the Lions offense continues to move the football. Dickinson down. Demetrius Maxey with the sack, his 4th of the season.
Demetrius Maxey gets the sack. George White is the reason for it. Demetrius Maxey, through just hard work and effort, continues on because Dave Dickinson has enough time. He's in the pocket. Throw now, you're okay. He pulls it down because the coverage was there from George White in the back end.
13 sacks for the Stampeders' front 3 on the year. Second and long, Jackson underneath, and he'll step out at the 37, 3 seconds to go. So it will be a 44-yard field goal attempt for Duncan O'Mahony, and Dickinson would like to have the play 2 plays ago back.
Yeah, and then that throw after the sack was simply to get Duncan O'Mahony back into realistic field goal range. And even here where he is now, placing the ball around the 49 is a long one for him. Longest on the season, as a matter of fact.
45.
I'll check that. 44 yards is the...
Yep.
Yeah.
He had a 45-yarder last week, and it's kind of between the 44 and 45.
I got my math going.
Ball spotted. And O'Mahony is wide. Jenkins to lug it out. Ronnie Jenkins slowed up, but still going. And this could be dangerous. Duncan O'Mahony with the saving tackle. So kickers have both had important tackles in this first half. What a half. Tied at 17.
Season, and G. Roy Simon with his 4th as well. Shootout so far out in the Wild West.
Friday night football, baby. Here we come.
Are you ready for tonight? BC Lions, greatest show on turf. Woo!
Whale of a first half, tied at 17 as we join Blake Bryce with Coach Tom Higgins.
Tom, obviously a great start last week versus Saskatchewan. Another great one this week.
Well, you know what? It's 0-0. We get 30 minutes of football to see if we can pull this out.
If Antonio Warren doesn't bust a couple of long runs, maybe we're talking about a different score, too.
Well, you know, you expect that. He's a very good running back, and they're getting hats for hats, and 2 great running backs are playing tonight.
Thanks very much, Tom. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
Yes, Antonio Warren has put on a show running the football, catching the football, becoming a primary receiver for Dave Dickinson. And on the other side, Joffrey Reynolds has racked up the yards as he continues to impress early in this season.
Well, and this is the other thing that Antonio Warren brings, is that on this kickoff to begin the second half, he's one of your deep return men.
Antonio Warren back along with Aaron Lockett. Sandro DeAngelis, who won the punt, pass, and kick competition in this building at the '94 Grey Cup, gets things kick-started in the second half. And it will be Lockett from inside his 10. Aaron Lockett, blazing speed, but cut down by Brian Clark. As entertaining as we've seen a half so far this year on Friday Night Football, adjustments you're looking for?
Well, I think both teams will adjust on the defensive side of the football. Calgary Stampeders try to find a way to stop Antonio Warren. For them, I think it's close. We showed you how close some of those linebackers have become. in making the tackle. Well, for the BC Lions, their adjustment is scheme, because they came with that wishbone like the guys in the panel talked about. A different look for the Calgary Stampeders on offense. So adjustments on the defensive side of the ball for both teams.
Little pitch out left side. Warren again finds a hole. And Warren running for a first down, steps out at the Lion bench. And it's a 16-yard carry, his first of the second half.
And again, with the Calgary Stampeders, those defensive adjustments are very slight. I mean, there's George White and Brian Clark. They just flowing to the football. And see, they get caught inside and just about a half a yard behind Antonio Warren as he breaks to the left. So if they're a half a yard to their right, not their left, they're right in the rushing lane.
Calgary 5th against the run so far this season. That stat will lower based on tonight's performance. And Ryan Thelwell, another catch. Chapman and Co. bring him down. But it's into Calgary territory, and this is the matchup we've been tracking.
Yeah, you see both running backs have done well for the Calgary Stampeders. Joffrey Reynolds was 74, and Warren now 101. Now, for Calgary, as mentioned, they probably won't adjust on offense. They like Joffrey Reynolds. They got to keep him involved. They may go to the next progression, which be as soon as defenses start coming up on your running game, you go in behind them.
18 on that catch by Thelwell. BC first down, quick hitter, Thelwell on that hitch screen, and game tackle at the 40. 6 more for the rangy wideout.
Antonio Warren is not talked a lot about often because of all the great talent here in BC, but quickly have people talking a little bit more. If you can get that stiff arm out there on Joey Bose like that.
That looks like the Heisman Trophy right there.
Oh yeah, that's old school.
Well, the only knock against Warren this year is sometimes he drops the ball. 3 fumbles, 2 in one game against Ottawa. Dickinson on second down looks for Claremont, and he has the catch close to the first down. Wally Buono surveying, and it looks like they will be just short.
But short enough that Wally Buono will go ahead and go for it, I'm sure. Claremont had to really fight off the defender to get that football and give him a chance, or we're looking at Duncan O'Mani.
And with G. Simon's status tonight somewhat in doubt, Jason Claremont becomes a more important receiver, you would think. So less than a yard. Claremont had a 9-catch game against the Stampeders last year. A little quiet early this season.
They'll bring in the big team, the Elephants, whatever you want to call them. Double tight ends. Claremont's one of them.
3rd and less than a yard. They stack up, and Dickinson. Listen to the Stampeders. They felt that there was some movement on that offensive line, and it looked like somebody bobbed.
Yeah, you know, I think the Stampeders were talking about Claremont. And once you get in a 3-point stance, now a 3-point stance is quite simple. Your 2 feet are on the ground, and as soon as you put one hand on the ground, you are now in a 3-point stance. Your 2 feet and the one hand. If you're in a 2-point stance, which Claremont is at the top of your screen here, you can move a little bit prior to the snap of the football. So it's the 3-point or the 2-point that's the difference. That's why there was no play call there.
It is a first down, and you saw John Grace in the ear of the official, but no call. And once again, the Lions are driving as we approach 3 minutes here in the 3rd quarter. First down, 5 receiver set. And Dickinson looking for Claremont, who's got it. Claremont with the catch at the 13-yard line.
You know, great quarterbacks understand the strengths of their receivers. And I think you're going to get a good example of that here with Dave Dickinson understanding where to put the football on this throw because of the receiver he's throwing to. If it's G. Simon, that ball probably out over his shoulder a little bit so that he can run to it as he gets close to the sideline. But for Claremont, throw it down at the low shoulder and let him use his big body, his big frame, to block off the defender.
24 yards for Claremont. Pretty tight coverage from George White. But it is another Lions first down. They fake the pitch. Dickinson on a bootleg into the end zone. Touchdown, Ryan Thelwell. Three straight scoring marches for the Lions.
Well, you could chalk this touchdown play up to Jock Chapdelaine. Great call to influence the Calgary defense and put them in a bind they just couldn't get out of.
Thelwell's first touchdown of the year. O'Mahony adds the extra point. 24-17, BC back on top. First touchdown catch of the year for Ryan Thelwell, the 10th touchdown pass distributed by Dave Dickinson. And it's 24-17. It was 14-3 Stampeders. Ronnie Jenkins from the 21. And Jenkins wrapped up at the 30 by the Psycho Squad. As the Lions call their special teams, take another look at the major score.
To the right of your screen, you're going to see Don McGee, number 24 for Calgary, alongside 53, Raheem Abdullah. You see how far he goes inside on the fake. That gives Dickinson time to the outside. And at the other end, Don McGee was watching Dickinson and did not catch up with his man, Ryan Thelwell.
Now the old Stampeder quarterbacks are in a pretty good pitcher's duel here. And now can Henry Burris answer back? With a fake and Burris on a roll. Chris Wilson trying to track him down. And Henry slides feet first.
How about Chris Wilson? Free agent signing in the Northwood. This is a 6'4", 230-pound defensive lineman, and he showed pretty good speed. Chasing down Henry Burris, who did a lot of this versus Saskatchewan. He'll get outside to his right. 99 slides down way inside, but then look at those legs chugging. Gets a good angle and cuts Burris off.
The former Flint High School Flintstone. Is that not the best football nickname?
Well, we'll see if he rocks Burris tonight.
Henry got 11. First down. At the 41. Burris looking deep. Looking for Copeland. Got it! Jermaine Copeland to the 5. And Baron Miles, the old teammate, brings him down at the 2.
Sometimes receivers have to be great route runners. Sometimes they have to be burners and run by people. Sometimes they have to be good actors. Right now, Jermaine Copeland is a good actor. Nothing fancy about what he's doing right now. See, he takes a glance, nothing special. Then a little push right at the end. What Jermaine Copeland did there is not sell to the defensive back that the ball was coming to him.
Well, Copeland scored early on the night. And now a 66-yarder to put the Stamps in scoring range again. So he has been the big strike man here this evening. .40 yards was the touchdown catch in the first quarter. And how about Henry Burris? He was pumped up at the bench.
Well, Henry Burris excited to get back on track. Had a couple of series in this one where started to sputter. He went away from Joffrey Reynolds a little bit. And now he's got his other go-to big play man, Jermaine Copeland, going once more.
And Burris has talked about the fact that this offense has more explosive capability than the one he operated last year. And we've seen the home run ball a couple of times. Ryan Phillips was the man shaken up on the play after Copeland torched him for 66 yards. The rookie defensive back who Wally Bono's very high on, compared him to a young Eddie Davis.
Well, he was right in perfect position, and then now he's so young and doesn't understand. That was one of the small things that Jermaine Copeland did to sell the fact that the ball was going somewhere else. It wasn't coming to him, and he was running down the seam just to clear out, and then it just arrived. And that's something that Ryan Phillips should learn from.
As Sam Young and Dante Marsh learned a year ago. So now Calgary, first and goal from the 2, and a problem with the handoff or the fake from Burris to Dybert. Did the Lions get on it, or did Burris get back the football? Calgary ball.
Here we go now. We're going to start at the end zone, and everybody in the building
Well,
is going to bring it right.
Either way, they look like they lose a yard or so. The exchange to Dybert was the problem between Burris, who maybe got a little low and didn't get him right in the stomach. Burris gets it back, but they got to bring in the passing team now. This is the regular offense. 5 receivers.
Second and goal from the 2. Copeland lined up in the backfield. Now to the right, 4 receivers are over there. Burris reverses field. He'll score. Touchdown, Henry Burris, as he ran past Chris Wilson and hits pay dirt.
It was the only way the Calgary Stampeders were going to find pay dirt on this one, because the coverage for BC was perfect in the back end, not an open receiver. Calgary wanted to go 4 receivers to the right side of the formation, and in that formation try and create some blitzes, or offenses like to call them rubs. There was no one open over there, and if Burris doesn't find that little seam, Calgary's kicking a field goal, not an extra point.
And DeAngelis makes the extra point. We're midway through the 3rd quarter, and these 2 heavyweight teams keep trading punches. You can vote for the player of the game tonight. Text message your vote using your Rogers phone during the 4th quarter. Send to Go CFL, and you have a few choices tonight.
Jermaine Copeland after that last play. How about Antonio Warren on the other side of the field of the BC Lions, or Joffrey Reynolds? I'm leaning towards one of the 2 running backs right now, but it's early.
It is early. A lot more scoring ahead, apparently, as Aaron Lockett runs out of room on that far side.
You know, we thought when we coming into this game, I looked at some of the weapons at receiver, and the question comes up, it comes up all the time. Who is the best receiver in the CFL? Well, you can have a hot year, and that would put you on top. I went over 2 seasons and look at some of the top 5 receivers that you have watched in the last 2 seasons. G. Simon, in a per-game basis, was number 1. 5.4, 95.5. Jermaine Copeland in that group, just below, and both playing tonight. Then Cahoon, Terry Vaughn, and Jason Tucker. Now, if you look over 2 seasons and consistency and those numbers, you give it to G. Simon.
Tell you what, the safety does some pretty nice number crunching as Warren tries the middle. G. Simon is a story in this game, and let's join Farhan Lalji with more on that.
Thanks, Chris. G. Simon just came out of the locker room. Now, he suffered the cramp in his left hamstring on the long Antonio Warren run before Simon's touchdown. Turns out the cramp was a result of dehydration. He spent the first half of this quarter in the locker room getting some fluids, getting an IV, and he is back out now and expects to go back in the game shortly.
It is a muggy night under the dome. 5 for Warren, 2nd and 5. Stamps looking for a stop, looking for Paris Jackson. What a catch! They'll mark it at the Calgary 46 as Paris Jackson stretches out.
Former North Vancouver Carson Graham High School grad comes up with a biggie. Working one-on-one on Ben Kelly. Little push with the left hand. That's a veteran move from a young receiver. And that's a big-time catch to lay out. Get your hands underneath it. You know you're going to take the impact when you hit the ground and still come up with it.
27 yards for Jackson. Claremont, Jackson, and others have stepped up in the breach without Simon. Dickinson has to throw underneath. Tony Simmons punished Brian Clark, helping get him out of bounds.
Well, that's just a sweet catch. I mean, you know, there's not a scheme. You can't talk about, you know, the scheme and why it happened. Dave Dickinson put that throw right out there to Paris Jackson, and that's some kind of big time catch for Paris Jackson to lay out like that. And still, a lot of times receivers will lose the ball when they hit the ground, and that will be ruled no catch. Paris hung on tight, hit the ground, came up with a big play.
Guy in his third year who's been frustrated by his lack of work, but it's coming. 2nd and 1. Warren on the toss, and he stopped at the 35, but forward progress will move the chains.
You know, and Paris Jackson making catches like that's good news for the BC Lions and their fans, because Geroy Simon's still working out that hamstring. Now, you heard Farhan talk about the fact that he's coming back in the game. He got some fluids in him, through an IV. It was a cramp earlier on. They want to make sure it's stretched out. Hamstrings may be the most tricky injury you can have, because if you push it too far and rip it, you're gone for more than a month.
Dave Dickinson talked about being more consistent, every drive producing first downs, and they've been doing that tonight. Had to pull it down here. Abdullah can't get him. They finally do, and I think it's Brian Clark, the 4th Stampeder, unless Randy Chevrier gets credit, but Dickinson brought down for the 3rd sack of the game.
One of the things the Calgary Stampeders will do defensively in key situations is they do what's called blitz and engage. They only have 4 guys up on the line rushing, one being John Grace. But John Grace, if Antonio Warren does not release and stays in to block, will stay on the pass rush. It's called blitz and engage. Calgary does it very well.
And that's now 14 sacks for the 3-man defensive line for Calgary on the year. 2nd and long. They dump it off. Simmons. And he is brought down close to the original line of scrimmage. And that will force Duncan O'Mahony and the field goal unit on.
A lot of fans wondering why Dave Dickinson would throw a ball 4 yards when he needs 14. And that, folks, is what's called managing the football game. Sometimes you can't win the game on one play. There's lots to be played here. You're in a tie football game. You've got field goal position. You take the dump pass. You manage the game to put your team in a good chance to win the game as it goes on.
So O'Mahony will attempt from the 41 with Casey Printers holding. Trying to give the Lions another lead. And he does work it in. The go-ahead points for the Lions with 4:19 to go, 3rd quarter. For every sack in tonight's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Every sack helps Purolator tackle hunger across Canada. And the Stampeders have contributed with 3 sacks tonight. Raheem Abdullah, Demetrius Maxey, Randy Chevrier. Part of the front 3 for the Stampeders making their contribution. Ronnie Jenkins from the 20. Jenkins up close to the 40-yard line. 4:14 remaining here in the 3rd quarter, and there are the numbers for the former teammates on the night.
Well, the 9 of 13 for Henry Burris, not as impressive of 26 of 34. However, some of Burris's plays have been big ones. Think a couple to Jermaine Copeland. We chew up a whole bunch of yards, so very close though, and you can see both quarterbacks avoiding the interception so far.
Over half the totals for Burris on the 2 completions to Copeland, 40 and 66 yards. Joffrey Reynolds up to the 45, 6 yards for Reynolds, who was a huge factor in the first half. And now let's see if they can reestablish him in the second half.
Well, coaches always talk about success on first down, and with Joffrey Reynolds on one sideline and Antonio Warren on the other, both teams have the capability of success on first down with those 2 players alone.
2nd and 3. Getting loud at BC Place Stadium. And out. Lewis the catch. and he turns it into BC territory. And a pose.
Yeah, you think that Jermaine Copeland's wearing off a little bit on Nick Lewis as this season goes on. Boy, they're pretty excited to get to know each other in a hurry and learning the dances when they get to the end zone and bringing a little of that swagger over there and confidence that doesn't matter what position you play, you go across those stripes, you need a little confidence.
Sure knows where the camera is. 19 for Lewis. Tony Tiller was smelling interception to no avail. A pump and a wide open receiver. There's Lewis again, still going down to the 13. Back-to-back receptions by the top rookie in the CFL a year ago.
Joffrey Reynolds is a big part of this play, and I'm going to show you why, because Otis Floyd is influenced by Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield. There's Reynolds there. There's Otis Floyd. Otis Floyd needs to get deep and get in the throwing lane. He doesn't. Guess where Nick Lewis ends up? He sits right there on Joffrey Reynolds. Right behind him, Nick Lewis comes across the middle.
Yards of first down. Flags down, and this play stopped. Those 2 catches by Lewis setting things up here. He is gone to the bench.
Nick Lewis with the great rookie campaign.
Illegal procedure. Calgary number 64. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Right tackle Jeff Pilon.
Lewis had the 1,045 yards and 8 touchdowns in year 1 in the CFL.
Only one 100-yard game last year, and as you can see, he's probably a catch away from breaking the century mark tonight. Now 1st and 15. And Lewis checks right back in. Jeff Pilon moved early, the right tackle. Burris, quarterback draw, and lunging ahead to the 15-yard line.
Stampeders and the Lions 15-yard line. And here we go. We're doing it on every single play right now. We're going to bounce that, boys.
So now 2nd and 12 for the Stampeders as Burris checks with Steve Barato at the Stamp bench.
Interesting to see the matchups as they break the huddle right now. Who's got Nick Lewis in coverage? At this point, it looks like it'll be Mark Washington, the short side.
6 receivers set. 3 on either side. Burris again. Look, quarterback drop. Snuffed. Ty Williams denies that. And the Lions defense forcing Calgary into a field goal.
You know, Nick Lewis was the go-to guy, and quarterbacks will often just continue to work what's working. And there's Nick Lewis, number 82. This play where they needed him most, he got covered up. You see Washington slides out. There's the contact. Getting his hip pocket. Burris didn't have his number 1 target this time, and he had to go down.
So DeAngelis to attempt a 25-yarder to tie the game. Money for DeAngelis again. And we're all even. Less than a minute to go. 3rd quarter. Join us for Rogers Jays on TSN tomorrow afternoon as the Blue Jays host the Texas Rangers. Game 2 of their 3-game series. Coverage beginning at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Available in TSN HD.
Well, the way these 2 teams are going a little rope-a-dope offensively and defensively, it may just be a special teams return or a block kick that can turn the tide.
Oh, I pulled the crystal ball out, did you? This has been fun. Last Friday night, memorable, as Winnipeg and Montreal got involved in a shootout.
Hey, they get fired up on Friday night now.
Well, this is what I signed up for.
I've seen you fired up too, so that's good.
And that kick bouncing out in front of Warren. And DeAngelis kicks himself.
Boy, and that's, you know, we've said it before, but that's a crucial mistake by the kicker because it puts the ball in the 45-yard line, and that's very good field position to start a drive.
Well, nobody said he was perfect.
No. And the field 65 yards wide. And what they're trying to do, and the reason it happens, is they're trying to angle it between the numbers and the sideline to help their coverage units get down there and really put the returner in a bottle. But if they go too far left, it costs the team.
Back to work goes Dave Dickinson. Hold it down and then dishes off. Warren across midfield. Anthony Malbrough with the tackle, but it's another first down.
It's almost like running backs. They get the ball out there in the open field. They take a quick look and can, in a heartbeat, establish what kind of tackler is coming at them. Is it a DB at about 180, or is it a linebacker at about 208, 218? This time it was Malbrough, and Malbrough at 185. You saw Antonio Warren lower his shoulder and lower his head.
14 on that. He has 171 yards from scrimmage in this game. And Lyle Green with that carry on the final play of the third quarter on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Stats after three quarters brought to you by Rona, the how-to people. And the numbers are just about dead even, just like the scoreboard.
Well, the BC Lions are starting to accumulate a little bit better numbers, unless you look at net yards, but a little bit better numbers. Calgary's defense are holding them to field goals right now.
Time of possession has been in Dave Dickinson's favor. 2nd and 5, and a nice knockdown there. Good defensive play by the rookie corner, Ben Kelly. As we join Farhan Lalji.
Thanks, Chris. And we're really not sure at this stage if Geroy Simon will come back into the game. They're not sure if it's a pull or a cramp. I saw him running back and forth on the bench here, and he really seemed to be favoring it. BC Lions trainer Bill Rochelle says he is not likely to go back. Geroy's not writing himself off yet. He said he's still going to try to loosen it up, continue to ride the bike, and hopefully he'll be able to get in before this game's over.
Well, we'll keep watching for that. We know what a game breaker he can be. A touchdown on the night, but only 2 catches for Simon. And our ace statistician David Moyer informs us this is just the 5th punt of the night. Of course, Burke Dales didn't have a punt until the end of the third quarter last week. Rambo shakes a tackle. Is a flag down, and Baron Simpson finally takes down Rambo. Well, a reminder to tune in tomorrow for live coverage of the 2005 NHL entry draft. We do know that Pittsburgh will be taking phenom Sidney Crosby with the #1 pick. Well, see how other teams fare tomorrow. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, here on TSN with Gord Miller, Pierre McGuire, Bob McKenzie, James Duthie. The 2005 NHL entry draft.
How does it look around the 10th spot? The 10th hole.
You're
talent out there in the 10th hole?
It's supposedly a good draft, not a great draft, but okay. Your guys are going to get somebody who can play it.
Canucks are going to grab number 10, and we're going to be all right.
3 Canadian teams picking in the top 10.
You know, I love the Canucks winter tie.
There was a face mask penalty against the Stampeders, so Henry Burris backed up. And so Joffrey Reynolds trying to get him out of the hole. Up to the 10 for 3. We have a report on what Corey Holmes did tonight, so we have a new rushing leader in the Canadian Football League.
Well, this is up to date, folks. Corey Holmes got out of the gate in weeks 1, 2, and 3 and was really running away with it. And Joffrey Reynolds just took over at 7.4 per carry.
He needs 6 on this carry. If he gets the ball, it's 2nd and 6. They'll fake to Reynolds and go up top. Open. Did he have a foot in? Let's see. Ronnie Jenkins, and they're saying no. And it will be third down.
Well, but there'll be no question on the push because Jenkins is in behind coverage, so there's no chance for the push. Right foot's in. Wait, he's got to get the other one. He's got to get the other one.
Does he have possession?
He doesn't have possession yet. He has it now. 1 foot in, other foot out.
I think they're ruling doesn't have possession.
The other foot is out, and he had possession when he got the first. And of course, you only need 1 foot. But did he have possession of the ball when he caught it?
When he had the
that
1 foot
in. That was pretty close.
That's when you want that instant replay. And it looks like it will be a safety conceded by Burke Dales to break the tie. Lions back on top early fourth quarter. Stampeders had to concede the safety. Had this been ruled a catch, it would still be tied.
And they'd be moving the chains, and the Calgary Stampeders have a new set of downs and turn of events. And we'll go back and take a look in a minute at this sideline play.
Antonio Warren, who led the CFL at all-purpose yards 3 years ago, adds to his impressive totals on the night.
I know
the 35.
Sorry, Chris. I know there's a bunch of Calgary fans saying he caught this ball. Now, the official rules, you only need 1 foot. So the official's decision right now, okay, stop it there. That foot is in bounds right now. And now the question is, does he have possession of the football when that foot touches in out of bounds right there? Because of the official rules that he did not have control of the football when the other foot touched the white stripe, no catch.
So Dave Dickinson operating with the lead. His pass percentage in the 76% range at the moment. Handing off to Warren. And we're going to join Dave Randorf.
Chris, we'll just finish off the story from Taylor Field. Nealon Green got the hook. Marcus Crandall came in relief to try to rally the Riders late. It fell short. Ottawa's definitely joined the party in that East Division with a 21-16 win.
Joe Paupau's Gades pull into a first-place tie. How do you like that? 2nd and 7. Dickinson throws back near side. Here's Warren with a blocker out in front. Across the 50, he'll step out at the 47. And a late flag. Stamps thought there should have been a flag on the play, and they said a little too much on the sidelines.
Antonio Warren sets this up in a big way. I told you he can do it all. Well, he can do a little acting of his own. On the backside of this play, he's going one-on-one with Scott Coe, making Scott Coe.
Sexual conduct. Calgary 38, 10-yard penalty applied from the dead ball spot. First down.
George White called on that play. Let me show you exactly how Antonio Warren makes this thing happen and gets George White all upset. He's going to step out, make it look like he's going to block there, and then slide out. Now, you'll miss him as we roll the camera to the right side. There's the fake block. Right there to the left of your screen. Dickinson knows that he's going to have Coe tracking him down. He knows also that Warren should be uncovered on the outside.
Jamal Powell, the left tackle, leading the blocking. It turns out to be a 37-yard gain with the penalty. Dickinson just gets it away. And Thowell has a seam. Ryan Thowell, touchdown! "36 yards for the Canadian wideout."
Play action right here holds the linebackers. They can't fly out to be part of the Ryan Thowell hit screen. Now it's one-on-one. Jason Claremont got his block. Tony Simmons gets his block. And Ryan Thowell decides the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line.
No touchdowns coming into the game. He has his second of the night. And the Lions enjoyed their biggest lead and will go for 2 more. Atkinson with time, wide open, and Thelwell's got another. Lion lead. Calgary led by 11 in the first quarter. Now the Lions have their biggest lead of the night.
Everybody back in London.
Courtesy of the London native Ryan Thelwell. Pair of touchdowns and a 10-point BC lead. Thelwell's never had a 1,000-yard season. He has 9 catches, 121 yards tonight. And he may be on his way to his best year in the CFL. Up to the 25. Good downfield coverage by the Lions Psycho squad. Let's take another look at the touchdown.
Well, I showed you why there was no linebackers out here. Now watch why Ryan Thelwell has a great lane to run into. Tony Simmons, number 88's got his block. Scott Coe right there. He does a nice job of that turn in. Now this block has to happen or Thelwell's in trouble. That's Jason Claremont on Jermaine Chapman. He gets both blocks straight to the house. 2-point convert. The Calgary Stampeders had a problem in the secondary. Ben Kelly fell down. He ran into Jermaine Chapman, or excuse me, safety Don McGee, and Thelwell's wide open.
And so Henry Burris has some work to do. Under pressure, got it away. How'd he do that? Joffrey Reynolds to the outside. And he'll be marked out at the 34, but Henry Burris with a great escape that time.
Yeah, that was magic because it looked like his arm was being pulled down as he tried to do it. So really just threw that pass. Although it wasn't a long one, he just threw it with wrist. You can see he was wrapped up there going down. Pretty accurate with a flick of a wrist.
First catch for Reynolds. 8 yards on the play, 2nd and 2. And the fans here urging their defense. Jenkins, a little stutter step, and should have the first down as once again we see that wishbone-like offensive formation by the Stampeders. Dybert, Jenkins, and Reynolds all lining up behind Henry Burris. First down clock running, less than 10 minutes to go. Tom Higgins down by 10. Stamps trying to win 2 in a row for the first time in 2 years. But they'll have to come from behind. And looked like Calgary jumped offside.
Illegal procedure. Calgary, number 66, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Big Alex Gauthier, the left tackle, moved early.
Well, it's a process for a team coming together, and Tom Higgins will tell you that his team won big last week where they were in front of that game pretty much from start to finish. Now they have to learn how to come from behind and stay composed in key opportunities.
So it's 1st and 15. Otis Floyd showing blitz. Burris in trouble, got it away. Nice catch, Nick Lewis. And Lewis hung on and has a first down. Dante Marsh with the acrobatic tackle.
Burris has to hang on and wait for Nick Lewis to clear all the way from one side of the field to the other. That's why he's getting hit as he's thrown one more time. Now, Nick Lewis got to take on Dante Marsh in the open field. Marsh takes him out at the hips. Lewis up over the top. Almost lost that football.
Now a late
objectionable conduct. Calgary, number 82, 10-yard penalty.
After the yardage. But again, Calgary's come unraveled a bit. That's 3 calls in the last minute or 2.
2 of which avoidable, completely avoidable. Hey, holdings, offsides, those things are part of the game. Interference, those are all part of the game. Objectionable conducts are just keeping your composure.
The Stampeders, the least penalized team in the league coming into tonight's game. Well, first down back at the 40. Again, the rush is on its way, but a catch is made. Juhas at the 46 has 6.
Well, we followed Nick Lewis a little bit after that last play. He was called on the penalty. And here he gets up, a little celebration after the catch.
And the taunting call is made.
Well, it's directed at Brent Johnson. And again, I don't think Nick Lewis even knew Brent Johnson was standing there. He just got up and celebrated. But as long as you're doing it towards another player on the opposition, you're going to get called.
Brent Johnson's looked like a sprinter coming out of the blocks the last few series. Henry Burris on second down over the middle. Yeah. Look for Lewis, and that was into a heavy traffic zone. There are 5 Lions look like they were in the line of fire there.
Henry Burris has lots of time in this game, and he's got to remain patient. He came out of there and had crossing routes that were wide open, probably for first down territory. He's right in behind the goalpost, and you're going to see receivers come across here. Watch how this develops. He at any time could have, well, stop it. If you stop it there, look at that. You dump the ball there, that's a first down for Henry Burris. He tried to get a little bit greedy here, and look at the traffic he tried to throw the football into to get it to Jermaine Copeland.
You know, I think that pass on further review looked like it was intended for Jermaine Copeland. Lockett caught from behind. Good downfield coverage. Randy Chevrier, the long snapper, hustling. Tonight's game story brought to you by Sport Check, the power of sport.
Copeland and Simon, if you believe those numbers we put up a little while ago, are the number 1 and 2 receivers in the league. Couple TD catches. Dickinson, look at that completion percentage again. Ryan Thelwell, big part of that late in this game. Antonio Warren has been the heart and soul.
You're right. There's plenty of time left, but the Calgary defense has to buckle up now. Warren inside. John Grace lays a stick on Antonio Warren.
There's over 28,000 in attendance here in BC Place. They're expecting a huge crowd for the Edmonton game. And remember, the BC Lions host the Grey Cup game this year in November. There are the tickets, the numbers to call, and the website to go ahead and get your Grey Cup tickets. Right at this point, there are over 48,000 sold. They are going fast, and the other teams usually pick them up after Labor Day. So the Lions are encouraging you to get them early.
Dickinson second down. Jason Claremont outblanks Scott Coe and had to be taken down by Anthony Malbrough, and Claremont has stepped up in the second half.
Well, Jason Claremont will start to run a lot of the routes that G-Roy Simon gets in the offense, because as they switch around and they move Claremont to different spots, that's normally a G-Roy Simon area. Claremont, it's the same result.
20 yards on the reception by Claremont, up at the 52-yard line. Under 6 minutes to go. Play action. Dickinson unloading. Simmons has it. Tony Simmons at the 5. And in difficulty, clutching the right knee.
Yeah.
After a huge reception.
He jammed it as he was coming down. I'm going to show you Jason Cavazza right here. He's going to go down the seam on the outside. He influences the safety, Don McGee. When Don McGee goes with that running back down the seam, he leaves the backside seam open to Tony Simmons. And right about there is when he jammed it, and it looked like the knee sort of bounced and bent backwards. And that's the way the knee is not supposed to bend. Play is created by formation and with Dave Dickinson looking off the receiver. And everybody here, including the players, when they saw the replay of the injury to Tony Simmons, are all just walking away shaking their head. We hope that he is okay.
A world-class speedster. Came close to qualifying for the '96 Olympics on the U.S. track team. 54 yards on that play, and now getting attention. Well, there are people in Vancouver already talking about next week. We're looking forward to it. Catch Wendy's Friday Night Football next Friday. Edmonton takes on BC here at BC Place Stadium. Coverage begins 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on TSN, and of course available in TSN HD. Well, it has been a costly game for the Lions with Tony Simmons carted off. They have lost Geroy Simon, it would appear, for the night. Now first and goal. Dickinson rolling. In pursuit, John Grace, and Dickinson threw this away. Jason Gavazza, closest man to the ball.
Well, I thought as it was about to unfold that Gavazza was going to get himself a touchdown after being the decoy the play before. But John Grace got in there too quickly, couldn't wait for Gavazza to open up on the outside, had to throw it away.
Stamps need a stop and force the Lions to settle for 3. Less than 5 to go. Dave Dickinson over 400 and operating at 76.2%. That's as consistent as it gets, isn't it? Warren right side, and Malbrough wraps him. And the Calgary defense does come up with a stop.
And Wally Buono did not hesitate to put the field goal team out there, even though it must be a little tempting being this close. And you could think, well, we get this one, we put the nail in it, and it's over. But this is the prudent play. This is the right play to take the points. It's still a long 4 to get to the goal line. And you don't want to give Calgary momentum if they stop you to come on back up 10. Of course, this makes it 2 majors rather than a major and a field goal to tie.
An 11-yarder. Sized up by O'Mani. Automatic. 13-point game. 40-27. Let's join Blake Price.
One half, maybe a half and one quarter. The mood on the Calgary bench was a pretty big one. High fives all around as Henry Burris and the offense would come off the field. Over the last quarter or so, it has been considerably more subdued, more silent spectators now as they watch this fourth quarter roll on.
And yet, time on the clock.
You know, there's lots of time, but that's an interesting observation, and I'll tell you why. Because new teams that are being put together, haven't played together, they don't know how to react in certain situations. They have not been in a situation where they were competing and tied for so long in this game against the #1 team in the West, all of a sudden have slipped behind. This is where the players start look to each other. Who's the leaders? Which guys are walking up and down the bench saying, guys, you got to believe that we can still come back. We've got a great quarterback. We can come back in this game. And this team is still trying to find out who they are. I mean, you can name a lot of the guys like Brian Clark, and I'm sure he's talking. Demetrius Maxey, I'm sure, is going to help on defense, but they still have trying to figure out how to respond to different situations.
O'Mani gets set with Ronnie Jenkins awaiting. Short kick, Jenkins fielding it at the 30 and up to the 45-yard line before he's brought down by Dante Marsh. I'd like to send out a special hello to the armed forces watching wherever they're deployed around the world, and also to our American viewers. We're on Altitude Sports in Denver tonight. Ben Kelly, the former Colorado Buffalo, a recognizable name for those fans, and for fans in the New England area, they remember George White at Boston College. Henry Burris has some work to do. Sidestepped, got it away. Kenyon Rambo, the Ohio State product, and he was nailed by Mark Washington.
Well, here's got to be a concern for Tom Higgins and the Calgary Stampeders, that the quarterback has not been able to settle into the pocket and look downfield. The last 2 or 3 series, he has been running, he's been jumping around in the pocket, and he's been throwing the football with BC Lions hanging all over him.
Yeah, the stat reads 1 sack for the Lions, but they've really turned up the heat in the second half. Second and short, and out of the gun.
Look out.
Burris in trouble. Gets outside Javi Glatt. Throwing, picked off by Tony Tiller. And Tiller down at the 50. As Henry Burris was on the run, and Tiller's got his second interception of the season. The first turnover of the game.
Boy, if it works up here, it usually works back here for the DBs. And watch this guy right here off the edge. And Otis Floyd provide the pressure as he tracks down Henry Burris from the backside. Burris can feel the heat, so he throws it when he doesn't want to. And here comes Tony Tiller. He came from about 8 yards away.
Well, that's how well played this game has been. Just the first turnover of the night. But maybe the final nail for the Stampeders tonight. Dave Dickinson dumping it off. Anderson dives ahead across midfield. Short gain for Brett Anderson. But the BC Lions got quite a scare tonight. But they are 2 minutes, 31 seconds away from keeping that perfect record intact.
Yeah, and I think Wally Buono at the end of this one will probably say his team played more consistent tonight than any game this season. Now the big question for the Lions, if they can hang on for the win, is the health of a couple of key receivers in G. Roy Simon and Tony Simmons.
Tony Simmons has been carted off. G. Roy Simon with a hamstring problem, it would appear. And still time for the Stamps, but they need big plays. Paris Jackson, the rangy receiver, another first down, as Dave Dickinson has just put together first down after first down on seemingly every possession.
Well, a lot of people here in Vancouver were talking about the fact that the BC Lions would get their best test tonight because they hadn't faced anyone, and I totally disagree with that. Ottawa won another one tonight. They beat Ottawa. They beat Toronto in Toronto. They beat Hamilton in Hamilton last week. I don't care what Hamilton's record is. That's a desperate, good football team, and the Lions found a way to win it and win it ugly.
Great fake to Warren. Dickinson pulls it down, and at the 37, 5 more.
And when you ask people across the league, when you're hearing that the BC Lions haven't played their best football yet, and you're saying, well, you're in Hamilton asking the media, why do you think the Lions are saying that when they're 4-0? And they're saying, well, we played against them, and we know one thing, no matter how inconsistent they are, Wally Buono will put the game plan together to make them compete, and the guy behind the center can find a way to win, and that's Dave Dickinson.
Top player in the Canadian Football League in 2000. Certainly one of the best in the early going up top. Thelwell's got another, and stopped at the 2, just short of his 3rd touchdown of the night. Trying to match the number on his back.
Perfect execution on what's called the fade route. Here is Ryan Thelwell. Here is Ben Kelly. He's playing right up and bump. This is an automatic down the sideline and then fade away from the defender. And watch Ryan Thelwell run it to perfection. As the ball's in the air, he fades closer to the sideline, and it drops right out over top of that left shoulder. Perfect execution on the fade route.
Career night for Ryan Thelwell. 1st and goal. Lions looking for the kill. Warren doesn't get there.
Yeah, give it to the horse one more time.
You know, Warren has been the most dangerous weapon, unless you consider Dave Dickinson the most dangerous weapon, but Brian Thelwell's had quite a night in support.
You know, that passing game really got going, but I thought Antonio Warren sort of established things early for BC when it was a real close game. He was picking up key first downs.
Less than a minute to go. Second and goal. Warren again. Not going to do it.
Yeah, he hesitated.
Stuffed. Brian Clark. Demetrius Maxey's there.
Yeah, he hesitated at the line of scrimmage, and that cost him.
And the field goal unit comes on, and you can hear the displeasure of the fans.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with the fans on that, because in a divisional game, you never know when or if points for and against could come back sometime down the road. They have a ways to go for a touchdown here. Calgary gets that stop. It takes points right off the board. They get the football. Now you're basically guaranteed the 3 in a divisional game. You want to get as many points as you possibly can.
So another chip shot for O'Mahony, 11 yards earlier in the quarter. Now from 9.
Oh, he hit the post.
The post. Dead ball. So it's still 13 points, but there's only 8 seconds left.
Well, hockey's back. You know, hockey's back. Hit the goalpost, but you get nothing for that. 0 points in hockey or football. The ball's dead.
Well, time now for Glenn's Gladiator, brought to you by the Keg Steakhouse and Bar. Great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Dave Dickinson had great stats. Ryan Thelwell having a career night. They will be in the newspaper. Antonio Warren may not, but you saw that stiff arm. You see some great little catches out in the backfield, and he's taking on the defenders. Key first down after key first down early on. Antonio Warren, once again, you have proven your honor.
Big night.
Stay with the guard, right? Yeah, stay with the guard.
Along with offensive line coach Durazio. Final play, although there are flags down. Burris on the run, and this is going to be picked off. Sam Young, no, they're ruling he was out of bounds, and again, there are flags on the play, and it gives us time to maybe give your perspective. Stampeders, I mean, they went in here against an unbeaten team, and maybe at the end showed they're still a young team. But this football team was a lot of potential.
It is, and maybe it has been the roller coaster of expectation for the Calgary Stampeders that has really been the difference. They started the season signing Henry Burris, signing Jermaine Copeland. Everyone talked about Grey Cup. They got out of the gate, and obviously they had a lot of building to do, and they didn't have a lot of success, so expectations got a little more realistic. Then they go in and they blow out a good team in Saskatchewan at home, and again, bam, expectations out of the roof. They come back against a very good team here in BC and realize, you know what, we're good, we're getting better, but we're not a Grey Cup team just yet.
Lewis with the catch on the final play of the game. The BC Lions are now 5-0. They've won 10 straight games in the regular season. That's a club record. They've won 10 straight home games. And Tom Higgins' team now 2-3.